Hey, it's TDA and welcome back to episode 4 of this by the book Dyson Sphere Let's Play. By the book because we're using a lot of blueprints that allow us to speed things up, but also allow you to play along with me by using the same blueprints that we will be posting in the description. Again, blueprints are a part of the game. It's a completely natural thing. You can make your own blueprints in the game if you want. Whenever you build something for the first time, just copy it into the blueprint system and you can just stamp it down every time. It saves a lot of time, so I really recommend doing so. Why is my nice little robot turning red? That's because of the sun. Okay, that was just really weirding me out. And apparently Icarus now decided to pick stones up from the floor. Okay, anyway. What do we want to build in this episode? Well, first of all, we want to build 60 engines because we need that for the next little research. So let's start that going. We have engine production over there as well, which we can borrow some from, but we don't really need that. What we want to do in this episode is get our nice red science going, and of course I have blueprints for that. Red science, let's just look at it for a moment in the building. We need two things for that. We need graphite, which is made from coal, pretty straightforward. But we also need hydrogen, and hydrogen is something we haven't actually made just yet. Well, we haven't made graphite either, but hydrogen needs to be made from oil. Luckily, and that's completely coincidental, we have an oil right here and we have coal up there. So that is going to make it really easy for us to get our red research going without too much fuss. In order to do that, we will need some oil extractors, of course, and we will also need some refineries. We actually need a lot more refineries than that. I am apparently a little low on... Why is this not working? Oh, because we don't have enough magnetic coils coming in. Well, we can actually help that, because we have some on us. So if you click on the building, you can manually put stuff in there. This will solve that problem for a long while. Apparently there's 80 going in over there, so that should speed up that production a little bit. Let's take a quick look why this production is not going any faster than it is. Is this our running speed moving up in... I think it is. It's going to be nice as well. So we can actually speed this up a little, I think, if we connect these up. Connect those up, make sure there's more magnets going in, because that's the bottleneck over here. Because of how the sorters work over here, we need to remove that one to that one and then have that one going out. So that should speed it up a little bit. Maybe it helps. It's not a big deal if you don't fix those tiny little things. The main reason that the production is being slow is because it's one of the last things on the belt that uses magnetic coils, and it's being used for a ton of other stuff. For example, some of these buildings over here also use these magnetic coils. We are still making these. That's why I also highly recommend that you keep these caps in place for the time being, until you actually find out that you need more than 50 smelters at once. Then you should start scaling that up. We also need apparently 120 steel. Picking them up manually is not the most efficient way to do that. Let's see if there's anything in the stockpile. Of course there is, that's why we built it. Okay, so that should take care of that research. What else are we researching at the moment? That should allow us to look at our planetary system. We need red research for all of this. All of that as well. Drive engine we can actually queue up. Yeah, I think that's it. Anything else that only needs blue? Don't think so, actually. Let's make sure we queue up titanium after that, because we do want that. And we also want the flight. Where is our flight? That's already queued up. This is not, because we need mecha core level 2. That's pretty easy to do. And this will allow us to fly into space. Anyway, first things first, red science, because we will need that to actually get into space as well. Yeah, so oil. Getting oil from the ground, really simple. Plop this over there. And there we go. Now let's actually see if we have another source of oil anywhere close. We do, I think, right? This is oil, right? Hello? It is. Why can't I click on it? Well, it's weird. Why do I want to? That's just kind of optimizing the production, because 2 of these usually gets you to around 6. So this is a production of 2.8 per second. Let's bring that belt up here while we're talking. And this is a production of what? Something like that as well. So we will be able to show that in a second while we research the other thing. But before we do that, let's get this started. So we will need graphite in a second, but we also need oil production. And I built this little blueprint for that. It consists out of 6 refineries, and 6 refineries tends to be just about enough to get the full production of one of these extractors. We have 2 of them now. That will typically fill 1 full belt. So if you place this twice, and again, don't forget to connect it up. In this case, you only need to connect up the sides over here, as well as the middle over here, and this side over here. So how this works, we have the refineries over here. They have the raw oil coming in the middle, like so. And we also have the raw oil coming from this side, so like that. It extracts that into refined oil, which we will need, as well as hydrogen, which we'll also need. There's a lot of ways to make hydrogen, but initially this is the only way we can do so. And there's a lot of people actually that really like making hydrogen from the X-ray cracking. That's one of the researches that you can do with red science. I prefer to keep it like this. Why? Because you're actually using up a lot of raw oil, which you will need for a lot of other stuff later on, by the cracking, and you get a lot more hydrogen than you need. And hydrogen is one of those things that you actually want to get rid of at some point in the game. So yeah, I recommend doing it like that. There's a third component to my build. This is just the production of the hydrogen. But if you tag this onto it, because this little build actually makes both hydrogen as well as raw oil, you want to split those up, because you don't want those mixed on the same belts. They are mixed on these belts, so initially they will mix up, but that's not a problem. The belt can handle that. And by using these splitters, we split them up into 2 stacks of raw oil and 1 stack of hydrogen collection. All right. Let's get some power running over here as well. Like that. And we will need some storage tanks, and hopefully by now, there we go. There's 10 of those. And we will also need, well, not 50 of those, but let's just grab a full stack. It's taking up space anyway, we might as well use it. And once again, let's use this little trick where we put down the power stations to make sure we power ourselves up while not slowing down our construction. Yeah, that actually only works, of course, if the power towers themselves are powered, which they aren't because we're too far away from our main build. So that should fix that problem. Doesn't happen that often, but I was just out of reach. I think it's quite a long reach on these power towers, but they do have a maximum. And there we go. So the first production is starting. So we have refined oil coming out, hydrogen coming out. Then we should have that going into the splitter over here. With the refined oil going up off to the left here. So this will start filling up. You can fit 10,000 in one storage tank, so that should be enough for quite a while. And the hydrogen actually goes into the middle one as well. Now this will fill up at some point, so you do need to keep an eye on this, not the entire time or anything like that, but it will fill up at some point. Which means that you will need to either empty these or use them. We all will of course be using them. So it shouldn't be a problem for a while, but it will eventually turn into a problem, so be aware of that. So this is plugging away. It's not fully built, but that's not a problem because we're not using it anyway for the moment, because we also need graphite. Putting down the power towers over here while we plan out our graphite build. I have a blueprint for that. It's a really simple blueprint, but yeah, figured I might as well make one. Let's put it there. Of course, we will also need miners. Again, this is one full belt, so we need 2 miners. There we go. %, power, even though we have all these power towers, so we will need to build some more power towers. This is an area I will be visiting anyway, so putting them down now, make sure that they will get built eventually the next time I pass. And that should take care of the graphite construction. Alright, then we have everything we need for the red science. So this is how I had that in mind. Just wondering for a moment where I'm going to put that, because the rest of our blue science production is all the way over there, which is a little bit inconvenient, to be honest. So I should probably put the other production maybe like that. Can I fit it in like that? I can. Should I? Is then the question. I'm just thinking about this for a moment, because we also know we want to... We need blue science, we need red science, and we need to both feed them into the same matrix lab. So I'm just thinking a little bit about what makes sense. To be honest, I don't think it matters that much. But I do prefer to keep it clean if we can. So I think this is a good display. We need some matrices labs for that, so don't think we have any on us. So let's pick that up. Go shopping for a moment. Oh, there they are. Again, just picking up a full stack. Why? Because we can. Low on power, so putting down the power stations over there. And then we need to make sure we connect all of this up, so. Now, they are in reach now, even though we're a little far off. So yeah, that should be doing its work now. It's one. So red science needs hydrogen, graphite. We just connected the graphite. We have the hydrogen production being completed over here. Now this is gonna be really annoying because you need to have it go out in the lower end, of course. And then we just flip it all the way back. Have that go in that direction. Having 6, you can do it with only 3, but having 6 on each side, so a full belt basically of raw oil, just make sure you really optimize that production and maximize the amount of red signs that you're producing. That's not going to work because we don't have any power over there. I like building the power towers along the belts. Almost looks like lampposts that way. Those were actually intended to be power towers, but I forgot I already built them over there. This is the only reason I sometimes end up building more than 3, because I forget about them and they just stand somewhere in the middle of nowhere while I've completely forgot that I had them. These will not be of any use unless we actually have science or science matrices making use of them. And if you have later research that uses multiple types of research, so just picking an example, this one needs blue and red, you will need to feed them into the same matrix labs in order for them to work. So you really need to feed them into one place. You can't just have matrix labs on one side of your planet doing one and matrix labs on the other side of the planet doing the other. It would be nice if it worked like that, but it doesn't. This is just again a little storage unit to make sure that we're not wasting any research production if for whatever reason we're not researching anything. For example, right now I'm not researching anything because we didn't have any graphite just yet. We also need some wood. That shouldn't take too long. But in the meanwhile, my blue production on the other side of on the base has been continuing because we have a little storage unit there. So I didn't actually waste that. And we can put that on a belt and make full use of that as soon as we get to it. Okay, so that should be producing. This is actually nice for several reasons, this research, but it's also a better fuel than coal. So keep that in mind. It's a nice thing to have a bit of graphite stack close to your base, where you can make use of it. So this should be feeding into the red research now. Let's walk a little bit closer here. Charge ourselves again. And help our little drones finish up this. Now the nice thing about the next level of Mecha Core is that if you're fully charged, it takes a lot longer to actually empty your reserves. There is our hydrogen coming in. How much hydrogen was in here? Over 600 already. So that's more than enough for a little bit of research. We are getting a little bit low on power, but that's okay. We will fix that in a moment. But first things first. And like I said, I knew I was coming back here at some point. And now these power towers, or these turbines I should say, are being created. Now this you can actually tear down, because we won't be researching anything that only requires blue science at this point. you can have this coming up here, making a little bridge. I'll have that continue over there. This might be completely different if you're not on the same map as I am. Oh, it should be of course the other way around. I want this nice little stack of over 1,000 blue science to feed on this belt. To feed as fast as possible, I put 3 of those, so we should have pretty much a full belt coming in. I could speed it up even more by putting another belt on the side here, but that's not really needed because it will be stacking up while we build this thing. There we go. Again, I don't really use splitters a lot. I like these little bridges. I think they look kind of cool actually. If you prefer to use the splitters, you can. They are a perfectly valid way to cross-section your belts. Oh yeah, that's really annoying that doesn't actually work. Anyway, let's just do it like that then. You can make it happen if you're very careful about how you try to link them up. And what I mean by that is like shift clicking this and then copying it in. It will always try to put it on top because you can stack these. But yeah, it doesn't work because you want the sorters to be on the bottom and not on the top. So, and you can't actually connect them from the top. So shift clicking and then pasting doesn't work. It's a sad thing, but not the biggest problem in the world. We have a nice little stack here. Green signs as well. We are actually a little low on the amount of graphite that we're getting. We can fix that by making... Because actually, if you look at the production speed of this, it uses 2 coal per 2 seconds, so that's 1 per second, so it's a full belt. Actually, now I remember now I see why this is not working. I was like, hey. This is actually not connected. Does this actually not allow me to connect this way, or what? Uh-huh. It's a weird little corner we have over here. Huh. Okay. Not a problem. Or at least nothing we can't fix. Let's do it like that. I could have sworn it connected earlier. Anyway. So that should speed things up because these 3 were not actually doing anything. There we go. Okay. So, blueprints are all nice and fine, but if you don't actually supply your buildings with enough raw resources, they still won't work. So this should speed up things considerably. Make sure we also get more red research. Red research is going in over here. We have the blue research coming in from the other side. This sorter is actually not connected to power, so let's fix that. And then we just need to make sure we finish up our belt over here. And as always, we are now low on power, so building these 2 will take care of that. Charge me back up while we're finishing off the rest of the buildings. Now, the research is progressing, well, it's almost stopped. The minor little research that you see happening on the top, it's slowly ticking down, is from our very first base we built. This is one of those researches that only uses blue science, at least at this point, because the red science is already being processed. So that's one of the merits of just keeping up that little base intact at first. And at some point you will be removing all of this, but for now this should be working. We have all the blue signs coming in over here. And now we should be seeing this ticking away a lot quicker. It always fills up from the bottom, by the way, so if you're wondering why you didn't see it instantly speed up quite a lot, yeah, it needs to completely fill up from the bottom, so until it has 10 units in it, on the bottom, it won't actually feed anything into the top ones, but as you can see, it's speeding up substantially now. And we've completed the planetary research, which allows us to do the following. Before I do anything, let me quickly leach a little bit of coal. Actually, we have the little coal deposit over there, so let's walk there. I like the colors on this, don't you? I do. Nice clean white. So, that should make sure the research finishes. If you now press V, you can explore your galaxy. We have, what do we have over here? So we have a, ooh, nice fire ice and hydrogen gas giant next to us. Fire ice is really useful to use one of the more rare recipes. It'll be a while before we can actually mine it, but hey, we have it, so it's nice to have. And let's see what our planets are in our cluster. So we have this tiny little planet over here, Lambda Leporus 1. It is a tidally locked planet, so that means that one side always is day, one side is always night. That's really nice if you want to use solar power. The downside of this planet is that it actually has 0 silicon on it, so you can use wind energy actually on it as well, with 150% efficiency, so apparently wind is a thing over there. We don't have silicon over here. We do have a lot of titanium, so that's also one of the resources we need. But let's look at the other planets. So we have another planet over here, Lambda Leporus 4. That has quite a bit of silicon. It also has quite a bit of titanium. Interestingly enough, it actually has almost no copper, which is going to be a pain because we need both copper and silicon to make processors. So, alright, interesting. Did this one planet have a lot of copper? Of course it does. So we have tons of copper over here, lots of titanium, 2 things that we really need. But I think initially we'll be going for this planet because it has both titanium as well as silicon in large quantities. Or do we? We need titanium, so we can get titanium here. So that's the first priority we have, but yeah, no, we will need silicon pretty much straight away after that, and we can get that from this planet as well. Not entirely sure what it implies, that it has a reverse rotation. Interesting, I guess, but I'm not sure if that actually does anything to the game. The only downside of this planet is that we have a very low solar energy ratio and a very low wind energy ratio over here. We also have no coal, so getting power to work over here is going to be a pain. The upside being is that we actually don't need a lot of power on this planet, so yeah, we can work with that. And yay, we can fly now. Alright, I think that concludes this for this episode. So now we have the flight mode enabled. We can fly around our little planet now. Pretty convenient, takes a lot of energy, but getting around will be a lot easier. We have set up our oil production, we have set up our graphite production, and we have set up our red research. And as you can see, this is chugging away at optimal speed now. We connected it to the blue ones. And yeah, this is all working quite nicely. We have the research ticking along. And now we can also get to the later parts of the game. We are doing the last little bit of research that we need to actually get off planet, which we'll be doing very soon as well. So yeah, I look forward to the next few episodes. What I will actually do in between episodes now is, as we noticed, we are getting a little bit low on power. I will be working on that in between episodes. Watching me build a ton of turbines and things like that is not the most interesting thing to watch. But I'll show you how I approach that after I've actually built it, at the start of the next episode. I hope to see you then. Like and subscribe if you haven't, and yeah, see you in the next one.